Now, I want to talk about accessible education. That is education that can be attained by anyone, regardless of their physical abilities, their cognitive abilities, their sensory abilities, all those different abilities, such that anyone with from any background with any particular condition they can be able to access that education. um, think about accessible buildings. There was a time when buildings were not accessible by people maybe on wheelchairs. And then there was a drive to make all the buildings accessible. And that is, think about education that is accessible in that way. It is also possible to have education systems or education environments where you can access the buildings, but you cannot access the education that is happening within those particular buildings. So education must be accessible, right? Um, the curriculum must be designed in such a way that it can be accessed by anyone, regardless of their abilities, as I've mentioned. I want to link this especially to the subject of that is maths. That is the subject I've taught the most. And my experience in teaching this subject is mostly in the Zimbabwean context, where I taught for the longest in my career in education so far. Right. So I want to look at the students as they do maths from this. I want to look at them at a secondary school. So you have that student who is doing maths from Form 1. Okay. I want to focus mainly on those who are not the high achievers, those who are not maybe so gifted in maths, as it were. Right from Form 1, you see that the student is struggling. They are not able. To them, this is something that is so difficult. They are constantly failing the subject from Form 1, right the way, all the way up to Form 4. They are, they are constantly failing it. Is there an option for those people? Is there an option that they may maybe opt for, so something that they can opt for, which can be regarded as a qualification in that subject, right? So as they continue to struggle, they are seeing that they are struggling, but then come Form 4, they will have to register for that particular subject, and they will have to write it with everyone else. But it has been seen that they've been struggling in that subject. So there is only one exam for everyone. So this exam actually says you must fit in here. So if you cannot fit in here, then you fall by the wayside. But already it has been shown that this particular student has been failing to pass that subject for the longest time, but they still must do that subject. Right. So that is, you have an education, but how accessible is that education? I'm not actually looking down upon a system, because this is what has happened over the years. But I'm looking at that particular student who is struggling and has been seen to be struggling, but nothing has been done for them or making things easier for them to access that particular education. All right. So they will write that exam, they will still fail that exam. Now, I want to look at that student who gets maybe a U or an E or a D in maths. What happens to them? To them, it's just a D, they failed. To them, it's just an E, they failed, right? And then if you look at that student who has maybe got a D, what is their mark? What did they get? Where did they fail? All those things. Actually, it's just a symbol that comes to them. Okay, oh, I failed maths, but by how much? Okay, I just got a D, or I just got an E. So that is something that I'm looking at for that student who is actually struggling and has got that grade, which is not a passing grade. But what do they do with that grade? What they know is just they failed the subject, and life goes on. They have to do other things. But if you look at the situation like where maths is compulsory, okay, you have to pass it. It's a requirement that this subject must be passed for a student to maybe do other things later on in life, some professions that will require the subject. to be passed at that level, but they don't have it. So their option is to continue to resit for that subject. Already it has been seen that they cannot, but still this is a requirement. So fast forward to my teaching career, that is in England, for this time I've been teaching here, which is not a long time compared to my time I spent in the Zimbabwean education system. So the accessible education or accessible education is now looking at that student who is already struggling and has been seen to be struggling. What intervention strategies are there for them? What what help are they getting from the system? So if you have been following my videos, I've talked about actually the streaming that happens, that is especially looking at GCSE maths. That there is what's called the foundation level, and then there is the higher level. Now consider that higher level is the maths in general. This is what is there for everyone. But then this student has been struggling for some time and has been seen to be struggling for some time. Then what other option do they have? Then the option they now have is the foundation level. For them, they can now try to pass the foundation level. Think about the higher level is Chwana. Okay, I'll put it as Chwana. And then you look at the foundation level as the porridge. Okay, still, okay, what you want for from that student who is doing foundation level is that they can access the maths, not at the level that is at the higher level, but at the level that they can afford, which is the foundation level. And I want to think of the student looking at the passing grades, which are from 4 to 9. That is, if you're looking at the higher, and then 4 and 5, if you're looking at the foundation. Then looking at the student who doesn't make it, they get a 3, a 2, a 1. Okay, so what happens to that particular student? They then have actually an opportunity to resit the subject the following year. But then something important to take note of here is if a student gets a 3, okay, looking at the grade boundaries, because the grade boundaries are published for a particular year, and then it's shown that okay, if you got this mark, then this is your grade. If you got a 3, and then what was supposed to be the pass mark for you to get a 4, that is shown. All the actually the examples will have to publish that so that it's seen. Okay, this is what you are supposed to get for you to pass with the grade 4, because this is the passing grade. But then you got a grade 3, and this is what you got from this subject. So it works like that. And then if you then they get to know, okay, they will get to know what their marks are for that particular subject. Let's say for I'm talking about maths here. And then if they are within 5 marks of the passing grade or of the passing, that is the pass mark, they can appeal. They can ask for a remark of their papers. Okay, they can ask for that remark, and then um, if they are maybe far away from the passing mark, then they will have an opportunity to resit, and it's known. The receipt dates are known, which if they collect their exams, actually they collect their results in August, then they know that come November, they have a receipt, and then they can receipt. But for them to receipt, they must have a strong passing 3. That is a 3 which is strong, which is closer to a 4 than maybe far from it. So it's encouraged that those who are maybe closer to that grade can then resit the subject in November. Okay, then looking at a student who has got a 2 or a 1, then the system allows them to repeat that, or to go to further education colleges, because they cannot repeat these in their schools. They cannot go back to their schools and ask to redo that subject, as it were, unless that school is a college, or is a the sixth form college where they are doing other subjects and also trying to do that other subject that is maths they want to pass. So looking at that, then let's take an example of a student who goes to a further education college. They know that they got a 1, they got a 2, they got a 3. Now, if they got a 1, okay, 2 or 3, that's level 1. Okay, so this is considered as level 1, because level 2 is a passing grade in that is in GCSEs. So they didn't pass it. They are at 3, 2, or 1. They are at level 1 in maths. They will then have to redo that subject. They are given 1 year to do it, to redo it. If they do not, then they will also go into the other year. Now, if they an example of one who has got maybe grade 1 or grade 2, the main objective is to move them to the next grade. If you were at 1, can you move on to a 2? If you are at a 2, can you move on to a 3? If the results come, it's the analysis is how many were in grade 1 and managed to go to get grade 2, how many were in grade 2 and got to a grade 3, and so on. So that it's making it easy for them to even see their own progress. Are they progressing in the subject, or they are not progressing at all? Now, so that is, they will be doing foundation maths, that is, because they cannot then do higher education, higher maths, because it has been seen that they are not capable of doing this. Furthermore to that, if really it's proving to be difficult for them, let's say someone's at grade 1, um, or someone who has been homeschooled, they are then trying to get to the ladder of maths. They cannot do the higher. Most of them, or some of them, cannot do the higher, but then they can still approach maths from the angle of functional skills. Okay, so they can do functional skills. So that is also an option that can then take them to pass the maths. Because if they can get a level 2 at functional skills, this is equivalent to a grade 4, which is uh, the passing grade at GCSEs. So this is making it easy for a student to then pass the subject, considering that they haven't been able to do so from from the higher level. So looking at these two systems and looking at how maths is compulsory as a subject, then it surely has to be accessible, so that it's it's not a one size fit all. It must be able to cater for everyone, regardless of their abilities. So that is making education accessible, and especially maths, because this is what they will then need as they want to, if they want to proceed with their education. So that's basically what accessible education is, but linking it to the maths curriculum.